1992 is the US Dream Team, which took the world by storm at the Summer Olympics held in Barcelona. There, they won by an average margin of victory of 44 points, culminating with a gold medal victory versus Croatia, with players such as Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and
Never before and never again will there be such a team. 11 Hall of Famers, the most magnificent assemblage of athletic talent ever gathered together on one roster in any sport at any time. Its mission? To reclaim for the U.S. the Men's Olympic Basketball Championship.
I'm sitting here saying, I'm playing with the greatest basketball players in the world.
They went through the Olympics. They killed everybody. They averaged, I think their average margin of victory was over 40 points, probably close to 50 points. Their closest game was a gold medal game against Croatia, which was over 30 points margin of victory. But that was by far the best team ever put on the court.
When it came to the Dream Team playing in the Olympics or professionals playing in the Olympics, I remember being dead set against it because I've always thought it was about amateurs. And actually the NBA thought it should have been about amateurs. But after the United States got beat pretty handily and came in third place in the '88 Olympics, it gained momentum. And when they chose that team in '91, a team that has 10 Hall of Famers on that team, or maybe 11, along with Schexnaildre, it was unbelievable. So it was a source of pride. And in all honesty, as an American, you just wanted to see how bad they were going to whip the rest of the world.
Hurricane Andrew was a Category 5 hurricane which swept through much of central Florida before gaining much of its original strength and hitting South Louisiana as a Category 3. Behind Hurricane Katrina in 2005, it is the second most costly hurricane in U.S. history.
Good morning. We're live in the Weather Channel Forecast Center. It's August 24th, 1992. History in the making as Hurricane Andrew is now making landfall in South Florida. We're talking about the Miami Coral Gables of sustained winds at 115 miles an hour with gusts up to 152. That is very close.
Hurricane in my lifetime that I really remember being a big deal and being a really inconvenience to us. It was 1992. It actually hit in Florida and did tons of devastation there first. Crossed into the Gulf, reformed, and hit in South Louisiana.
Hurricane Andrew was a Category 5 hurricane. It was the first major hurricane that I can remember going through. It covered, first time I ever saw a hurricane cover the entire Gulf of Mexico. We had just moved to Baton Rouge. We had 2 kids, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. That was before anybody had generators. So when the power went out, power was out for about a week. Power went out, you just dealt with it. You had candles, you had flashlights, you didn't have generators, you didn't have window air conditioner units brought in. You dealt with the heat, you dealt with, no lights. And we would get up in the middle of the night, take the kids out, sit in the car, turn on the air conditioner, cool off, and then go back, and deal with it. But I remember getting out and driving around, or trying to drive around, and there were just trees everywhere. You couldn't get around. So. Until Gustav in '08, that was by far the worst hurricane I had ever been through. Gustav.
1992 is the opening of the Mall of America in Bloomington, Minnesota. It is the largest mall in the U.S. at over 4.2 million square feet and over 500 stores. It cost over $650 million to build it back in 1992 and now brings in over $1.8 billion in revenue for the state. The mall includes an amusement park, over 50 restaurants.
And big is very big. ABC's Tom Foreman.
The Mall of America is big enough to hold a 7-acre amusement park, 300 stores, 40 restaurants, 14 movie theaters, and the estimated 100,000 people who showed up for its first day. It is so big, shoppers can rent portable phones just to keep track of each other. If you shop until you drop, doctors' offices will be open soon. If you lose something, there is a lost and found department, if only you can find it. America! Some say shopping malls are the crowning achievement of America's consumer culture. If so, America has never been mauled like this before. Tom Foreman, ABC News, Bloomington, Minnesota.
Bloomington, Minnesota, and it is enormous. It had about 300 stores when it first opened, and now it's up to over 400 stores. And it's 5 stories tall, and there's a roller coaster in there. I prefer not to ride the roller coaster, so I didn't do that. And I didn't get to shop the whole mall because it was just too overwhelming. It would have taken me 4 or 5 days to do every store in there, so I just did what I could and left it at that. But it's an amazing place.
Of the 27th Amendment to the Constitution. It was originally drafted by James Madison back in 1789. It began to gain ground again in 1982 before fully becoming part of the Constitution on May 7th, 1992. Lasting over 200 years, this is easily the longest-running amendment effort.
This may cheer you up, I think. No law varying the compensation for the services of the senators, this is Amendment 27, no law varying the compensation for the services of the senators and representatives shall take effect until an election of representatives shall have intervened. Thank you.
Okay. The 27th Amendment was passed to prevent any increase or decrease in the salary of congressmen until after the beginning of the next set of terms. It's called the Congressional Compensation Act. That's one way that it's referred to. And it's a very unique amendment in the sense that it was first proposed in 1789, but it wasn't fully implemented until 1992. So there was a period of almost 202 years between when it was first proposed and when it was finally implemented. And the main reason for an act of that sort is to prevent conflict of interest among the congressmen. People don't want congressmen to get in and immediately raise their salary.
When I was asked to comment on the 27th Amendment,
is the 1992 presidential election. Incumbent George Bush was taking on Democrat Bill Clinton from Arkansas. As you know, Bill Clinton went on to win the election with over 43% of the popular vote and 70% of the electorate.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, reporting from ABC News election headquarters in New York.
Good evening. We begin tonight with this. President Bush is in trouble, and the economy is the reason. There's a lot happening in the popular president has ended up fighting a fight he never imagined for his political future, because a young political challenger is tonight within a whisker, perhaps, of becoming the first American president born after World War II. Project that Bill Clinton is going to be the next president of the United States. We project that Ohio has gone for Governor Clinton. Let's take a look at the big board. We go from 265 electoral votes up over the 270 number. Bill Clinton is going to be, by our projection, the next president of the United States.
Clinton, when he ran for president. Clinton's a very eloquent and brilliant individual. And initially in the Democratic primaries, he really didn't have a heck of a lot of competition in the way of being able to express himself to the people in eastern states. But Clinton took most of the South, including Texas and Florida, which are very big states. Then he had to get a large northeastern state like New York. And he zeroed in on New York and won big in New York, and that basically clinched the Democratic nomination for him. W. Bush was unbeatable because during the first Gulf War, Bush's rating was 80%, which was very high approval rating for anybody. But then he compromised with Democrats to try to lower federal deficits and had to pass taxes. And he made the famous statement during the convention, the Republican convention, no new taxes. Well, he did have to pass new taxes, and Clinton hammered on that. The economy went bad, and by the time of the election, Bush had a 40% approval rating. So Clinton went on to win the presidential election at that time.
The final event for the year 1992 is the Earth Summit held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. This was a conference called by the United Nations with over 170 participating countries that called for a change in attitude toward our environment and its natural resources. But of all the foreign diplomats and world leaders, the most memorable speech given at the conference was given by a 12-year-old girl named Savone Suzuki.
Hello, I'm Severin Suzuki, speaking for ECHO, the Environmental Children's Organization. We're a group of 12 and 13 planning to come here ourselves, to come 5,000 miles to tell you adults you must change your ways. Coming up here today, I have no hidden agenda. I am fighting for my future. Losing my future is not like losing an election or a few points on the stock market. I am here to speak for all generations to come. I am here to speak on behalf of the starving children around the world whose cries go unheard. My dad always says, you are what you do, not what you say. Well, what you do makes me cry at night. You grown-ups say you love us, but I challenge you, please, make your actions reflect your words. Thank you.
Yeah, I remember the Earth Summit like it was yesterday, actually. I have a really good memory because I eat a lot of organic foods, and it's actually really, yeah, well, I remember back in '92, I was just a twinkle in my parents' eye, but I remember it. And so they got a bunch of countries. It was somewhere between like 10 and like 200 countries they had. And I remember, sorry, this is Roger. He keeps me company. I bet you I wouldn't have had Roger if it weren't for the Earth Summit. Anyway, I remember those folks. They were really cracking down. He needs water. Excuse me. I need some water. Hold on. I left the water running on accident. Don't tell the Earth Summit Committee.